Before we get started, please go over to Amazon.com and grab a copy of my book, Education and Justice. If you have an African-American son in public school, you need this book because I teach you the many ways that public schools mistreat African-American boys and what you can do to help your son. So go over there and get your copy immediately. Happy Sunday, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I got some really good stuff for you today. So I'm answering the question, why would any black man still support Donald Trump in light of all that he has done over the past couple of months that has really impacted the African-American community? But believe it or not, there are still some black men out here who are still supporting him. And I came across a few of them from a Meet the Press episode, I think it was last week. So we're going to hear some of the things that they are saying to justify their continual support of Trump. And you're going to hear my reaction to what they say. And I think you're going to see at the end of this video, and there probably will be a second part because there are 3 sections, and I want to save the last section for last. The last section, or I want to save the last section for the second part. The last section is their gripes and grievances with the Democratic Party. And I want to handle that by itself. These first 2 parts are about the economy and Trump's overall job performance at this point. When they begin to talk about all this wrong with the Democratic Party, I want to handle that separately. I did a video on that actually a couple of weeks ago, but that deserves its own special attention. Now, make sure you watch the video from start to finish, all right? Because all throughout the video, these guys are going to be sharing their thoughts, and we need to hear their thoughts, okay? All right, so let's get into it. Let's go to clip number 1.
In the latest installment of our Deciders Focus Group, we heard from African-American men who live in swing states and voted for Donald Trump in 2024. The group was a mix of independents, Democrats, and Republicans, and nearly all of them remained staunchly with the president, despite mixed views of his economic agenda.
I really believe in my heart that Trump, being a businessman, he's going to get these prices in the economy where it needs to be. He has a point to prove, and he loves to do that, and I believe he's going to get it to where it needs to be.
I think he needs to pace himself. He's going too fast, and he's doing too much at a fast pace and not allowing the economy to catch up.
And I think it's just the first time I've seen a president go so drastic so quickly, so I think the grand scheme of things, it could turn out wonderful, but it also could not.
These tariff wars, one day he's going to do tariffs, one day he takes it back and gives them another date, causes the stock market to go down a lot in the recent week or so. Sure, he's a businessman, but keep in mind he's also had several failed businesses. So maybe there's some horizon on the sun on the horizon on the other end. But right now it's painful because the tariffs do go in effect. They will be eventually passed on to the consumer to pay more. So we'll see.
He has his hands in so many different things. It's like I can wait till he get to the 6-month point. Then I'll start worrying.
It's only been 2 months, so it's a lot of things on the table. It's a lot of mess to clean up. It's a lot of stuff that needs to be done in order for that to happen. As far as the inflation and the prices going up with the tariffs, I believe the plan may be for it to balance itself out with those jobs being available here. Maybe not immediately.
So the thing I would ask myself first and foremost is, where have these men been? Because Trump was very open about everything that he is doing, right? So everything that he's doing, he talked about it on the campaign trail. So, for example, doing so much at one time. Well, that's their old game plan. That's flood the zone. So they said that they would be just doing all kinds of things, days of thunders, another thing Steve Bannon called this. So this is very much a part of the MAGA game plan. So I wonder, where were these guys? Had they really been, trying to find out exactly what Trump will be doing? Had they read Project 2025? And you notice they said nothing about specific policies. It was just, too fast. He'd get things fixed. He need to clean things up. Nothing, no policy discussion there at all. All right, so I'm looking down here because I made some notes. Fix the economy. Now that's just completely, totally, absolutely crazy. Because as Trump did in 2016, he inherited a great economy from Obama, and he inhabited a great economy from Joe Biden. So there was nothing really to fix. So what it sounds like to me, these guys were fed a lot of disinformation, and they apparently didn't do their own research. All right, let's go to another screen. Let's look at the economy when Trump took the economy. All right, what economy did Biden leave Trump? Unemployment, 3.7% overall. Black unemployment, 5.2% for Black Americans. In fact, Biden had the lowest Black unemployment rate in American history. I think it was 4.1% in April of 2021. Inflation, when he handed the economy over to Trump, 2.6%, down from the 9.1% in 2022, which got up that high because of the way Trump mishandled COVID. Wages, real wages rising for Black, Latino, and low-income workers. Stock market, S&P 500 and Dow at record highs, unlike where it has been the past few weeks with all of this chaos that Trump is causing with his tariffs. Okay? Deficit, cut via Inflation Reduction Act. Okay? The deficit was actually cut. And if you remember, at the end of Trump's first term, he had added about $8 trillion, reportedly, to our national debt. Consumer spending, strong across housing, retail, and travel. That's the Commerce Department, the Congressional Budget Office. So I got this stuff, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. All of this is documented. The GDP had grown 2.4%. Really good. So the bottom line, Biden left Trump a growing economy, 2.4% gross domestic product, low inflation, low unemployment, rising wages. Trump inherited stability, not a crisis. The way those guys just sort of indicated that Trump would fix things. There was nothing for Trump to fix. And what he has done his first couple of months in office is he's messing things up. Inflation is rising. Stock market is down. Okay? There's talk of a recession. The feds can't lower the interest rates like they wanted to. All right? So, again, they were operating apparently on disinformation, not facts. Facts. That's what we got to base our decisions on. Facts. And while I'm at it, let me also share with you what the Biden-Harris administration did specifically for African Americans. Record low Black unemployment, like I just said. Achieved the lowest Black unemployment rate on record, creating 2.4 million jobs for Black workers as of August 2024. Through the American Rescue Plan, expanded the child tax credit, which contributed to cutting Black child poverty in half in 2021. Support for Black-owned businesses. The Biden-Harris administration provided targeted support to Black entrepreneurs, including forgivable business loans and initiatives to increase economic opportunities for Black men specifically. All right, that's from A&P News. I didn't make that up. Invested over $17 billion in HBCUs since 2021. $17 billion. This is what the Biden-Harris administration did for the African American community. The Biden-Harris administration has approved approximately $183.6 billion in student loan forgiveness, benefiting over 5 million borrowers, disproportionately African Americans, because we tend to have to borrow to go to college more than other groups. since these other groups have 6 to 10 times more wealth than we do? Okay. Increase Black unemployment, increase Black enrollment in health care coverage through the Affordable Care Act by 49% from 2020 to 2024, helping more Black families gain health insurance than ever before. All right. Issued Executive Order 13985 on the first day in office, directing federal agencies to advance racial equity and support for underserved communities. Of course, Trump has now gotten rid of all of that with executive orders. Signed executive orders aimed at reforming policing practices and promoting accountability, including measures to address systemic misconduct. Of course, Trump has or will issue executive orders to get rid of all of that. Record level SBA loans for Blacks, even removing the restriction on felons. These are some of the things that the Biden-Harris administration did for African Americans. So not only are these brothers overlooking the fact that Trump received a great economy from Biden-Harris and didn't have to fix anything, he just needed to let it continue to grow and to create jobs and so on. But the Biden-Harris administration also did a lot for African American people, including Black men. But if all you're listening to is disinformation, then these are the kinds of things that you're going to say. Because essentially you are reporting white conservative GOP MAGA talking points. And that's all I heard. All right, but there's more. Let's go back. Look at a second clip.
I'd like to know whether, on balance, you approve or disapprove of what the new administration has done since it took over. So by a show of fingers, who approves what the new administration has done since it took over? Marlon, why do you approve?
I approve because he's weeding out a lot of things that the other, I would say, Biden and Kamala Harris disrupted in this United States. There's a lot of things. It's going to be a tough job for him in the Trump administration as a whole. But I'm just willing to wait and see what goes forth from now.
I believe that.
I mean, that's just pure disinformation. All the things that Biden and Harris disrupted. I just went through a list of things that Biden and Harris did for African American people and the great job that they did with the economy. I really don't know what that gentleman was just talking about. Again, nothing specific, no policies, just GOP talking points. All right? Just stuff he gets also from these pro-Black imposters. Nothing there to even analyze. Let's go back.
He's getting rid of the clutter and things that have been there for a long period of time. And he's just cleaning house. But there's a way to do it. And so I don't 100% agree totally how he's cleaning house, but there are some areas that need to be improved within the government.
Oh, yeah.
So he says they're cleaning house, that Trump is cleaning house. Well, is he talking about the civil rights offices that Trump has closed? Is he talking about firing African-American people like 4-star General Charles Brown? Is that what he means about getting rid of clutter? Now, we know the GOP talks about waste, fraud, and theft. You know, those things they say Elon Musk is working against. But no, if you take a real serious look at it, what they're doing is firing a bunch of federal employees, many of whom are Black, and replacing them with MAGA loyalists. You see, again, what he expressed was talking points and not rooted and grounded in facts. what they have done so far is, again, terminated the jobs of tens of thousands of federal employees and replacing them with political loyalists. And they said they would do so in Project 2025. So I just wonder, did any of these guys read Project 2025 or listen to people who had read it and explained it? It doesn't sound like it. Everything they're complaining about is precisely what Project 2025 said that they, Trump and MAGA, would do. So it looks like they were not anticipating it. But Trump said that they would do all these things, okay? And once again, the problem, the manufactured problem with the Biden-Harris administration, that is just baseless. They got grievance with Biden and Harris, yet Biden and Harris did so much more for black people, including black men, than the GOP has done for at least 70 years, if not more. You see, none of this is rooted in facts. None of this is all rooted in disinformation. Let's finish listening.
I say he said he's going to do some things. He did a lot of things. Whether it actually happens exactly how he wanted to happen or not, at least he tried and actually did something. So that's more than I can say about the Democrats probably ever.
Jeffrey, tell me why you disapprove.
Well, we're going to talk about the Democrats in part 2 of this, which will be another video. But once again, just a general statement from this brother that Trump said he was going to do some things, whether he do it or not, whether he does those things or not. You heard him say, at least he tried, which is better than the Democrats. I mean, there's not much to even analyze from that statement. No specificities, no policies, nothing, no data, none of that. I gave you the data. If you look at the data, you can't help but to come away from the data saying, wow, Biden-Harris did a lot for African-American people. You see, that's why a lot of the folks who be misleading these brothers don't want them looking at the data. They don't want them looking at channels like mine. Because I'm going to bring fact and evidence-based information. I'm going to bring you what the government says happened. I'm not creating any of this. None of this. Let's go back. I want you to see. I'm not. I mean, look at that. Let me pull it up here. So the American Presidency Project, the White House, AP News, Bloomberg, Congressional Budget Office, Commerce Department. Those are receipts that I'm getting from agencies, both news agencies, federal agencies. And so it's not my opinion. These are facts. This is evidence. When I say that Biden left the economy in a good place and Trump inherited a good economy, that's not my opinion. That is based on facts and evidence. But the folks that a lot of these brothers be listening to, the ones who voted for and are still supporting Trump, they're not looking at the facts at all. They're listening to people who are just giving them talking points, and they're going with those talking points. And they don't want those brothers listening to a channel like mine and others that use facts, evidence. I'm an attorney. I use facts. When I decided to do a YouTube channel and talk about these things, I knew it's my training to use facts, evidence, not just a bunch of opinions. My opinions mean nothing if they're not rooted and grounded in facts. Okay? A little bit more from this clip.
I disapprove of the way he's handled the firings of government employees. Firing public sector versus the private sector are two different animals. In my opinion, he should have gone in with a scalpel instead of a blowtorch.
I think the economy right now is in a position where they're hurting and they need help.
You see what he said? Now the brother who said that he shouldn't have went in with a blowtorch, but with, scalpel, whatever he said, there's some critical analysis there. You know, he's unhappy with the way Trump and Elon fired a bunch of federal employees in the public sector rather than the private sector. A little bit of analysis there, not a lot, but a little bit. But then the last gentleman who said that people are hurting because of the economy. Again, I just showed you the condition of the economy when Trump inherited the economy, and it was in good shape. Unemployment, 3.7% overall, 5.2% for Black Americans. Inflation, down to 2.6%. Standard & Poor's, those who invest, before Trump took office, they were doing well. In fact, over Biden's 4 years, people made a lot of money in the stock market because we had a stable economy. So I know inflation was up, right? And Trump harped on that inflation, the cost of eggs, the cost of eggs, the cost of eggs. But remember this, you don't really worry about the cost of eggs when your nest egg is doing well, right? You don't worry about the cost of eggs when your nest egg is doing well. In other words, your investments, your savings, right? If they're doing well, you're not too much concerned with the difference between a dozen of eggs that cost $3 and a dozen of eggs that cost $5. If you're making money in other places. But Trump kept harping on the price of eggs because he wants folks focused on that as a distraction rather than the overall robust growth and dynamic economy that Biden left him. And now, after Trump has been in office, the price of eggs really increased. So we got to be fact and evidence-based. If you're fact and evidence-based, then you will not, absolutely not, as an African-American person, you will not vote for Donald Trump. You can't support him when you base your decisions on the facts. Now, if you listen to a bunch of disinformation from MAGA, from the GOP, from Black conservatives, from pro-Black imposters, then you're going to be misled every single time. So why would any Black man still support Trump? And by the way, I haven't even talked about all of the horrible Black stuff that Trump has done, with his DEI stuff, right? Stuff like this, termination of DEI programs, purge of DEI references, targeting the National Museum of African American History and Culture, dismantling the Department of Education, dismantling the EPA, dismantling civil rights offices of multiple federal agencies, federal workforce reduction affecting many, many, many Black employees. There are a lot of Blacks who work for the federal government. Reversing civil rights protections. These guys act like they hadn't even heard about all these things that Trump are doing. None of them mention it. Not one of them. Not one. I guess they look at these things as if they're not a part of the African American community. I don't know. But where was that criticism? When the moderator asked, do you think he's doing a good job? And they said yes. 5 of 7 said yes, without mentioning any of these anti-Black policies that Trump has put in place. And let me tell you, more is coming. So it's baffling. But I'll get into it even more in part 2 when I talk about their feelings and beliefs about the Democratic Party. All right? I'm Reverend and Civil Rights Attorney Augustus Corbett. Thank you for watching the video. And always, stay woke.